Hi there, I'm Graham Fitch and welcome to December's practice clinic for the Online Academy. I've got questions here that have been sent in by subscribers, and what I do each month is to address these questions. They're usually relating to practice method, but it might embrace style, technique. It's all kind of one in the end. So let's have a look at the first question from Raj Kumar, who says, I am struggling with bars 33, 36 and 37 from the Romance by Dario Sciarra, which was set for Trinity Grade 8 in 2021. Actually, it's still on the syllabus there. How do I count these properly and execute them correctly in time? And then he says also in bar 33, how can I improve my speed? So let's just have a look at those. First issue, I think, if we look at the metrics of it, the counting of it, we've got in the left hand the accompaniment, which is unsurprising, but the way it works here, it's virtually all in quavers, that's eighth notes. So it should make our life easier, because the principle was in this period that the rubato applied to the right hand and the left hand stays more or less in time. That's not quite accurate, because we wouldn't want to play robotically in time. So we play like a good accompanist and bend where necessary and also where instructed. So we've got in bar 35 an accelerando through that bar, and then an a tempo, then in the following bar a rit. So and then another a tempo followed by another rit. So there's a kind of flexibility built in. But if we look at it first of all kind of strictly, so I'm going to play from bar 31 where the section begins. I'll just give you a sense of what this piece is about. It's very lovely, it's Chopinesque. You'd want to take a little time, that bar, even though it's not marked in to have a writ, it's what I call a squiggle. You know, musicians put little squiggly marks where it to instruct us to kind of take a little time, but it's not really a writ, it's not a rowl, it's more of just a bendability there. I'm going to look at the left hand first just by itself, and you'll see how the left hand is conducting. So you'd need to know your left hand fantastically by itself. The pattern changes a little bit there, but the rhythmic flow doesn't. I'm not doing any timings yet. And there the right hand takes the quavers over. So that was just a bang in time with no rits or accelerandos. Do you see how stable that left hand is? So your left hand will be your guide here. So if we look at that bar 33 that you described there, as how can I figure out timings? Okay, so there's a little bit of an awkward spot in the second beat, which is a quintuplet, a group of 5, with a cercatura at the end, which actually you could put on the beat together with the C in the left hand. Now this little figure here, we have to make friends with that, but let me first of all deal with that quintuplet. So what I would do there is to make either a group of 2 followed by a group of 3. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Let me put it with the other hand. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then just gently on the beat is kind of expressive, because then you get the B against the C. So it's more like an appoggiatura, really. Just a quick one. Or you could do a group of 3 followed by a group of 2. However you want to do it, but make it sound free, make it sound expressive and beautiful. Now the next group of notes, you've got here what in Chopin would be fioratura, little flowers in Italian. So fast notes written in small print, basically. But they're very controlled in the sense that we have to play the top B with the left hand B. So if you're clear on the melodic outline here, that's going to help you when you fill in the other notes. So how do we make friends with a pattern of notes that does that? First of all, don't be scared of it, even though we're seeing semi-quavers, you know, it's not actually as fast as it looks, but we do have to get comfortable with the positions. So we could block that one out and just feel that we've got all of those notes under the fingers for the first group. The second group, again, you can take the first part of it up to the B with one hand position, and then pivot across. So that would give us these shapes. Let me just, so that's a good way of initially beginning, just blocking. But then, you know, you could take the group, the first group, and what I'm going to do is just to go back and forward, play it forwards and backwards, and you'll see how I'm putting the notes into a wrist circle. So this would be a wrist circle here, the upper part, scoop round. Do you see how the choreography is controlled by the arm there? So just extract that little spot and just do a little bit of chaining. Just stop at the end of the group there. And you can add another note. Go note by note. See what I'm doing until I've completed that chain. And afterwards, we've got a similar kind of process we could use when we get to bar 35. Let me just show you what happens in bar 34. So there's a crescendo and a accelerando. Just let it flow forwards. You'd have to know your right hand very well by itself, in addition to knowing the left hand well by itself. You know, just look at the groupings. The patterns. Those are all triplets. So metrically speaking, it's no problem. But how to gain speed, that's another issue. All sorts of things you can do from the kind of traditional rhythmic groupings. That would help to the chaining processes that I showed you a little bit before. Let me just show you, if you were to do rhythmical work, it would mean controlled stops on the first note of each group of three. And that's useful because it gives me a reference, like an anchor point, so that when I get to the first note of each group, I'm pausing for a moment and I'm then pushing through the group to the next first note. And I can do this together with the left hand and my pedal as well. My pedal would be half bars. Whoops, let me do that better. You may think, well, what about that? Surely that resonance is much too much for that pattern. It's not. If you give a substantial bass, not loud but supportive, play the middle voice, the middle part sensitively, not loud but with shape, and then you add your right hand. That level of mistiness is, well, it's very Chopin-esque. I mean, this piece is a dead ringer for Chopin, isn't it, the style? And but that's a lovely kind of like an aura around the sound, and that's very appropriate. It shouldn't be squeaky clean. So from the groups of three rhythm, we could go to groups of six. Right, so we're removing one of those stops, and then groups of 12, just put a stop on the middle of the bar just for practice. And after a while you won't need to do that very much, if at all, maybe occasionally for maintenance purposes. But probably what I would like to go with in preference, or rather additionally as a kind of next stage to the rhythms, is the chaining. So at the tempo, just work with a little group. See what I'm doing there? I'm waiting until that feels embodied, comfortable. And then I can add a little bit more. Now I'm going to go for a group. Then you work with that corner, and it's sometimes helpful to do it without the pedal, so you can hear everything just that little bit more clearly. And then you could start from where you start. So that's from beat 2 to the end of beat 2, and then I link those together. Now I can link the first half and the second half of that group together, and I've got a half a bar. Then I can start on my half bar point. Right? So that principle is very, very helpful for practice. So you can do that over the course of a few days. Just the next day, start back at square one again, build, and don't expect it to come immediately. It might take a few days for the practice to kind of show up. So then let's look at the bar 36. Okay, so you've got again groups, fioratura, little notes. These are now in divisions of 4. Before we'd had triplets, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the quavers are divided into 3s. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 into 4s. It's really as simple as that. If you can subdivide the beat 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then you can play this. You have to feel that shift. But in bar 36, you've got a melodic line kind of hidden. I'm kind of blocking that. Let me do that again. Now block. That gives you the outline, the melodic outline. Now the figuration, just play it in time. Now there's a little awkward moment there. We've got an R tempo, but then we've got a big kind of jump in the left hand from the bass note to the harmony note. So where do we put that little acciaccatura? I would recommend putting it on the very last right hand note. If I slow this bar down, just an E major chord, and change pedal there. See what I did there? I slotted in my bass A together with my last B and changed pedal on it, on the A. And then I can keep the pedal for the next half bar. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And then the second half of the bar poses a little bit of a technical issue in the right hand because we have to play thirds on the top. Now my hand wants to do this fingering 5-3 on the top, 5-3-4-2, ditto 5-3-4-2, and the same there, because that gives me the best legato. But if your hand is small and you can't cope with the 4-2 to a 1, then you can just go back to a 5-3. The pedal will be there anyway, so it's better if you can connect because it just feels smoother. For practice, I would take the outer line and then the lower line. And you've got a writ there anyway. And you can put the spread in the right hand together with the bass if you like, or not. But if you decide to put it before the bass, it's nice to hold on to those notes for a moment so that you get the harmony. Otherwise it sounds a bit bald if you do this. But you want a little bit more resonance. Now, our tempo. Isn't that lovely? So expressive. Our tempo. Little tenor line there. We want to hear it resolve to the E, which it does there. So the very last top right hand note finishes off this tenor line. This is bar 38. repeats. Now he's making us wait for it, and then we get it at the very end. So hopefully that will allow you to make a bit more sense of that. So the second question comes from Sigrun, and she says, my questions refer to Schubert's Impromptu in F minor, Opus Posthumous 142, that's D935. Specifically the double notes, the thirds in the first section. Which fingering should I use? How to connect? Finger sliding? Any pedal involved? They're only one bar each, but I think important for the piece. Yes, absolutely, Sigrun. I think first thing I would say is that there's usually more than one possibility for fingering. I've got my trusty old Henle edition, but I've got other editions on the shelf. And this has got fingerings by Walter Gieseking. You can get it on IMSLP for free nowadays. So if I look at the finger, this is the, it's kind of rarely played, this impromptu, the last one. Let's have a look at bar 20. So I like the top Gieseking fingering, 5-1, and then 4-2, 5-1, 4-2. Feels really nice under the hand. But you could do 5-3, release the first third, and then 4-2, 5-3, 2-1 he suggests, but it could be 3-1 at the end if you like. I'll show you in a minute how I would suggest working on them, but let's start off just by looking at the fingering. The next one I thought I'd come up with myself, and then I was very proud of that because I've got something different. Then I looked later, bar 35, he has the fingering that actually I came up with. So I can't claim ownership of it. So 5-2, 4-1, 3-2, 5-1, 4-2, 3-1. So doing it fast is another matter. So when we work on thirds, there's a general kind of recipe for the practice, which is to separate out the two voices. Let me look at the second one in bar 23. So I'm going to just take the soprano voice, using the fingering that I'm going to end up using. And I can do that at my tempo. Now that fingering feels weird by itself because I wouldn't use that fingering if I didn't have an underneath part. So I get that working by itself. Then I do the same with the lower voice. Let me look at it. 2-1, 2-1. That's all I'm using. I've got to get that feeling comfortable. When we put the voices together, we can do a little bit of double tapping. That was repeating the upper note twice, and then lower voice as well. General recipe for this sort of thing, which is when you do the double taps in the upper voice, make them more tenuto because that's the melodic line. When you do it in the lower voice, make them staccato leggero because we want to encourage lightness of touch in the lower voice, which is going to be just that little bit softer. Then from there you could from the top to the bottom, or you can do it the other way around from the bottom to the top. And after you've done a little bit of that, you can do some chaining, which is looked at in the previous piece, just the first two notes. And I'm putting that as much as possible into an arm gesture so that it doesn't get too fingery. And then when that's happy, and I might need to work with that until it feels absolutely like it's gliding out of my hand. I could also do some backward chaining, which means just taking the last pair and then adding a note backwards, and then etc. until I can do the whole bar. And you'd find that that process worked very well. You don't really want pedal there. I wouldn't put any pedal there because it's just going to just cloud over the clarity that we need for those double notes. But I think, Sigrun, if you work on them like that, you'll find that they eventually, not immediately, but eventually will yield, and if you're patient in your practice. That's key to practicing, because a lot of what we do, it's rather like gardening. You know, you put a seed in the soil, you don't go out the next day expecting that seed to have popped up, but you do continue to nurture it, maybe water the ground every so often, you know, whatever it is gardeners do. I'm no gardener. And then the pleasure is as much in the process of gardening, I believe, from my gardening friends, as in the harvest. So, you know, you want that seed to come up and produce its flowers or its fruit, but you get just as much pleasure, maybe even a bit more, from the process of nurturing and watching it grow. So it's similarly with practice. Don't expect the results to come immediately. So the next question comes from Ed, who's having problems with the two right-hand presto passages in Mozart's D minor Fantasy. He keeps tripping over his fingers and can never seem to play fluently. Thanks for your help. Well, okay, we all know the D minor Fantasy, I think, with K397. Kind of dark. That's the opening, that's the improvisation, and then we get this lamenting, kind of wailing. One of the saddest, kind of anguished passages that we might be playing from Mozart's music. And then we get, after that section, we get a presto, which doesn't quite add up in terms of the metrics, because it's a cadenza. So if I played slowly the presto, what I'm interested in, this is bar 34, I'm interested in the design, the composer's design. I'm not interested first off in the technique. Let's look at the music first and then we worry about the technique. So I noticed that we start off on the second beat of a group of, how many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I notice after the scaly kind of deal that we've got there, I notice an A major triad, and then the same idea from C natural to C sharp, and then the triad, natural to C sharp, and then the triad, C natural, interrupted at the end. So let's deal with that first of all. So I think if you anchor your mind on the C naturals going to the C sharps, you'll find that that gives you, because this is just a self-replicating pattern of notes. That's first to notice that it's just the same notes that recur. And I want to just notice the interruption, because we're expecting for the scale to continue, but it doesn't. So, okay, that would be the first thing, to find some sort of grouping for the note patterns, and then to shape melodically. So you've got the blue note there, you've got the C natural pain note, you know, make a little bit of the C natural. And then you've got a diminished chord, which would need pedal for sure. It's just a diminished seventh. And I would cross over and just play the last group with the right hand. Although, if you wanted, there's nothing to stop you going over with a 4 and a 2 at the top, possibly. I wouldn't, but you could. So then, you know, like with any other kind of fast passage, you can use controlled stops. So maybe I'm going to stop on the C natural. And if you wanted to put in more stops to start with, I chose there to stop on the C's and the F's, but that's only because they're unequal groups. So that would be for the first passage of pattern notes. Now the second one, bar 44, let's look at it slowly. And I'm not thinking of it digitally, I'm thinking of it orally, mentally as well. What are the patterns? Zigzag, oh there's that C natural again, and the C sharp. So those little hooks, I want to use those hooks, those zigzaggy patterns there, to lift me up to the next plateau, and then I coast down. That's how I would see it. You might have an image of paragliding or something, you know. I'm exaggerating, but that's the kind of shaping that I'd want to give it. And just in terms of physicality, as with the other three pieces we've looked at, if you want to get things fast, one of the best ways of doing that is to do chaining practice. So the chains can be note by note. And you'd work with each chain until it felt really lovely in the body and sounded great and even. Now maybe from there. So that's working note by note, but you could work in groups. So that's the first group of notes. I'm playing the first three notes, stopping on the first note of the next group. And I could start from where I stopped. Maybe make a little group like that. Do you see how free the arm is? So the fingers are working under the guidance of the arm. We're not generating from the fingers. I hope that helps you. I think it should. So Sarah comes up with the Liszt Consolation No. 3 and the perennial problem about the pedalling in the opening section. It's actually kind of impossible to do as Liszt writes it. She says she either blurs everything or loses the bass note. So yes, anybody who's tried this piece will be scratching their heads as to how to do it. There are several options. My preferred option, I'll show you this first, is to replay the D flat every bar and change the pedal, but replay it very softly. And I noticed that that's given the green light also in the Alfred edition. I like very much Alfred edition because there's a very helpful preface always. And the editor here puts in pedalings, as long as you don't take them as gospel, they're a very good starting point. And actually these pedalings are excellent. So, you know, the edition does give good guidance in everything it puts out. So the editor here suggested, and let me just see if I can find it. It's Maurice Hinson, who of course is very well respected. I like to cross over with my right hand. Don't change the pedal. Please don't change the pedal. Change the pedal here and play the D flat again. Don't change pedal there. Change the pedal there. But not here. There. I like to play these little tails just very delicately, like a little kind of puff of smoke that's going up into the air. So that's one possibility, just to replay the bass note very softly and change the pedal on it with those exceptions that I mentioned. The other option is to do a kind of, you know, if you really want to, it's good experimentation, just a half pedal. So the point of a half pedal, let me just demonstrate it. I'll play from bar 3. Now I go back and touch that D flat silently, lift my pedal, and you can hear what's actually left of that note. So what I did was when I got to bar 4, I fluttered my pedal, and what that does is it's not going to touch that bass note. You can't see, but I'm vibrating my pedal, and the dampers are kind of going like that onto the strings. It's not touching that note, but if I were to do it with this D flat, let's say, can you hear after 2 or 3 flickers the note's more or less gone? So it means if I show you left hand by itself, vibrate. See what I've done, I'll go back and cover that again. See, that's still quite healthy. So that's an option too. Flutter the pedal to get rid of the worst of the dissonance from here, but to preserve the bass. So you could do that on the next bar as well, but you risk not having enough D flat left. I'm not satisfied with that because I don't feel like I've got very much of that left. and it doesn't sound very beautiful to me. So I think there I would probably replay. So I might do a half pedal on bar 4 and then replay a bar early, bar 5. And you'd need to replay here anyway, even though it's still tied. Right, so the third option is to use the sostenuto pedal, which Liszt only had, I think, very late in his life. And I believe that he'd written this before the sostenuto, before he knew about the sostenuto pedal. And then when somebody said, oh, you could use the sostenuto, he said, oh, what a great idea. So I think he would have been happy with it. So the sostenuto, the middle pedal, what I would do is to set that in my middle pedal. So I play the D flat silently, put my middle pedal down with my left foot, which means that damper is now up. So I'm not using my right foot yet, but I would do, of course. No other note is caught. So it's only that damper that up for as long as I keep my left foot. Could buy my right foot, but I need my right foot for my normal pedaling. So what I then do, let me just do that again. Touch silently, put the middle pedal in. Now put my right pedal down after that because I want my right pedal from the very beginning. Don't change your right pedal when the harmony stays the same. Change right pedal, but because my sostenuto is catching the low D flat, it will still be ringing. So you could probably get away with doing that for a few bars, but there's going to have to come a time when probably before bar 8, the official replay, that you'd need to touch the D flat in. So I think it's a question of experimentation. See if that helps you, Sarah. Thank you so much for watching and for your questions, and I'll see you again in the new year. Happy holidays!